In this review then guys, we shall be taking a look at the 1978 thriller slash horror movie Jaws 2, which is a sequel to the 1975 movie Jaws. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. So I thought then that this was a decent sequel. Don't get me wrong, it was never going to live up to the original. For those that have seen the original, or I don't think you would have done this, but let's say if you'd have watched this movie and hadn't watched the first movie, you might have gone, oh, it's pretty good. However, when you watch the original and then watch this one, you just sort of like, there's definitely a quality difference, and I think that is Steven Spielberg, and him not being included was always going to go from here to about here. No matter what type of movie it could have been, whether it had been, let's say, a Jurassic Park, like for instance, if he didn't come back for the second movie, I think that you would have seen a here to here. And that's what happened with Jaws. And to me, I love Jaws. I adore Jaws 1. However, I feel that in this one, they capture essences of what Jaws 1 was about. They still have Chief Brody there, but they're missing a lot of what made Jaws 1 good. And that's why I think that if you can't put up a decent sequel, you should have left it. However, like I said, this isn't a bad sequel by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm saying is, maybe you should have left it as a standalone movie. Before we get more into the story though, I just want to talk about how they've really torn this movie down in comparison to Jaws 1. And you might be like, why do you keep comparing it to the first one? I'm doing this because that is the benchmark. That is the reason we are still talking about Jaws 2, is because there's so much to compare it to. If not, I would have just put this movie aside and said it's decent, let's move on. However, I think the gore elements of things was absolutely toned down, like to several decibels, as I didn't really see much blood, I didn't really see much gore, and that's not what you watch Jaws for, especially, but it is a hint of why you watch Jaws. It is, but it isn't. And the thing is, when you get bit by a shark, you expect to see blood, you expect to see gore, and I think that was missing in this movie. And I believe this movie was a PG in, I don't know what it was in America, but in England, that's what it was, a PG. And the first one was a 12. And so that they just brought the gore levels down like a full notch. And I think if you're going to do that, you're going to prepare to drop a lot of ratings in terms of here to here. It's just look at the first movie. Although a lot of CGI things could make it more gory these days, there was blood elements. Sometimes it felt that you were disgusted at times by the amount of gore in it when Quint gets bit in half and you just thought I'd seen the blood pour out his mouth. Those little things weren't in this movie. It was like somebody would get grabbed, somebody would get pulled underwater, or even with the ski boat incident, it was just engulfed with fire, you didn't really see anything. And yeah, I just think they missed a trick there. And even when the shark exploded, it weren't really that gory, where it basically just showed it on fire. And I think that element of things was a bit annoying, because you just thought, this is a shark movie, why are we not showing any gore in it? I also liked how Brody's character developed in this movie, as he felt a lot smarter and was able to act a lot quicker when learning about sharks and stuff from his time in the first movie. And he learns his lesson as such, and it expands on his character. And I think that what is annoying is that they did the same traits as the first movie with the mayor. You think he would have learned a lesson. I know he's trying to keep the peace and trying to keep his summer vacations going and stuff like that on Amity Island. However, I disagree how stupid he would have been just blaming it on boat incidents, considering the scare that he had last time. And I think that was quite annoying, as the dickhead mayor was still in this movie, but it was a sign of the only 2 or 3 people in this movie that were in the original. So in a way, I wanted him to be in there, but I didn't, because it felt like it copied a lot of the same traits as Jaws 1. And I think if you're going to do that, I think you're going to put a lot of people off, because it's basically just a carbon copy of the second movie with the mayor. And the mayor hasn't really developed. He's gone backwards, if so, as he's talking about the same thing. Oh, it's a boat incident, it's a boat incident. It's like, he's clearly not. And obviously Brody gets sacked by him in this movie for basically going, that's a fucking shark. And he's like, no it ain't, it's a boat incident. So I thought that something I did enjoy about this movie was the foreshadowing element that they took from the original, in which worked a treat. As in the first one, we see that the gas canisters in which Brody bumps into on the boat halfway through the movie, I think, bumps into him and nearly blows himself up into smithereens, and is used at the end of the movie to defeat the shark, as he's mentioned by, I think it's either Quint or Hooper, that those are highly explosive, and he takes that knowledge and uses it at the end. And this time we see the foreshadowing element used not with Brody this time, but with Hendrix, as he is looking for parts of the explosion that happened with these jet skis and things like that. And he's using this like hook thing to lift up and trying to find anything. And he gets a hook onto the bottom of this power cable. And then he's realized, oh, you better put that back in the water, because that's a power cable and could cut the power for the whole thing. And then, funny enough, Brody uses that exact same power cable, which he accidentally lifts up as well, into killing the shark at the end. And that is just something that they used from the first movie, in which I thought was very, very good. Finally, I thought it was great to see the likes of Roy Scheider being back in this movie as Chief Brody. I thought he did a great job, and we covered him plenty enough in our Jaws 1 movie review, which should be down in the description. I also thought it was great to see the likes of Lorraine Gray and Murray Hamilton return to reprise their roles from Jaws 1, and I think they did an okay job. I think it was good, mostly just for the nostalgia elements of things, going, oh, it's those from the first movie. However, I don't really think they had a big impact, and like I said with Murray Hamilton's character, I felt that it really wasn't needed and was shoehorned in there, as I felt that it was very repetitive from what we saw in Jaws 1. I don't think it needed that. I think it needed to move on from that, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think that on Lorraine Gray, I don't think she had much to do in this movie, apart from just being Brody's wife and being there almost. But I think although she didn't have much character development going on, I think that she just was a good character and nothing more, nothing less. I also thought that Jeffery Kramer was also good in this movie as Hendrix, and I think him returning back with his comedic elements of things was pretty good. To summarise Jaws 2, then I thought that this was a bang average film and a 6.7 out of 10. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, whether you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this review, and get your own opinions down in the comments, please. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content that this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.